Hi and welcome to another episode of NLP Upscale Life with myself, Mark and Fintan. And we're delighted to welcome our newest member, Kathrina Kelly, to our podcast. So, Kathrina, thanks a lot for getting involved in our podcast.
Thanks very much, Mark and Fintan. I
You're very
appreciate
welcome.
being brought on board. It's exciting. Looking forward to it.
And as well as that, we have a few things coming down the road as well. Like we're putting together a course together as well. So that's one to look out for. So watch this space.
Absolutely, we're doing an online course, and that should be quite insightful. Consider we've all different ways of working, and to blend it all together. So it's an exciting time for us all.
Definitely.
And I suppose that's a bit what tonight is about as well, just to kind of introduce Kathrina and kind of how everything blends together and how she works with people, how she uses NLP in her practice.
Yeah, well, I suppose I started out years ago, 20 something years ago. What brought me into all this field was a couple of things. I would have gone through a very bad relationship, and I needed to work on myself. And also, one of my kids, due to all of that, got a physical illness, which wasn't life-threatening, but it was debilitating, and for a while. And I was sick going to different specialists, and someone had said, try reflexology. Didn't know what it was, decided to investigate it, brought them for that treatments. And over a period of time, they improved 100% and didn't need any medication or medical intervention. So that made me notice that I felt a lot of their issues would have been emotional, and it was manifesting as physical. And then as I went to work with myself and what I was going through on an emotional basis and stuff like that, so it would have started with reflexology, then Reiki, then I ended up going into shamanic work and becoming a shamanic practitioner. And I suppose from there, then from working with that for years, doing different types of modalities of healing and stuff, I then connected with NLP. So I feel the combination of energy work with NLP is extremely powerful.
Yeah. There's an awful lot of different healing modalities that you mentioned there. Obviously, you have so many, as you said, the energy healing and that sort of thing,
Yeah.
And so when you're working with a person, do you find that I presume when somebody comes to you and they say to you, do you have an idea of what you're going to maybe do with them, or what particular healing method you're going to use?
Well, I spend time getting to know them and seeing where they're at emotionally. And also with the skill set of the NLP and stuff, you can connect to see where they really are at. A lot of time people don't realize where they're at in themselves and how they're feeling. Sometimes they can't even recognize that they're stressed. They might have been sent to me by a family member or something, saying that they needed to unwind or to connect to themselves again. And a lot of the time, the client mightn't even be aware of or own it that they're stressed. So I suppose initially it would be to build rapport and a connection with a person. And the NLP skills come in there in relation to body language and mirroring and rapport and creating that safe space so that that person feels very safe. And it's a safe environment for them to then go into either more of the NLP techniques, which is working with the subconscious. So is shamanic work. You're working with the unconscious mind and the wounded healer that's in there. And the energy work, Reiki and stuff like that, and hands-on healing is to do with the actual physical energy body that we have, and how emotions can get, if they're not dealt with, can get slow down our energy field and eventually cause physical illness. So I would connect to that person, give them a safe space to come into me and working from what they present with me, then I can do a combination of different techniques or just basically stick to one or the other, depending on what I feel they need. And also what they're ready for, because a lot of the work would be quite deep, and they might necessarily be ready for the whole shebang, but they're to open them up to allow them to heal themselves. At the end of the day, all our skill sets is to allow healing to happen at the level that that person's at.
Yeah. And that was an interesting phrase you used there, to allow them to heal themselves, because
Yes.
in the end of the day, that's really what people are doing, whether you're working with NLP or Reiki or shamanic healing. Sounds interesting. Did you ever heard of that, Mark?
Yeah, well, Kathrina was explaining the last time we were on a call before, which is really, really interesting. But I do guess exactly get what you're saying, Kathrina, because I did an NLP course with you, with Danielle. That's
right,
how we
yeah.
met up. And it's funny how one modality can lead to others, and they all kind of gel together, don't they?
Ultimately, for any therapist, if that's what I want to call us, or healer, or whatever, NLP, whatever, we're working at making a person feel better from where they're at this present moment in time. So, as I said, we've all different skill sets to enable that to happen. And most people, when they come into us, are in a space that they want. They want something to change. They're ready. They know something needs to be different.
Yeah.
They might necessarily know what area or how to do it. And that's where we come in as therapists or as healers, that we allow that space to open up so that they can create the healing space for themselves. We're just conduits of energy that we facilitate that space, because everyone has the ability to heal if they're given the right energy in the right space to do that. The body, the mind, the psyche is such a huge and amazing, like we're so much more than our physical bodies. So it's to allow, my perception as a therapist for over 20, nearly 25 years now, wow, is to create that space for people to get the level of healing that they're ready for, and to empower them, so that you give them tools that they know. Like, none of us are exempt from getting stressed, regardless of how much work we've done on ourselves and how much we've done self-development and everything else. We all go to that space, but the difference is that we have the tools to be more aware of where we're going, what triggers us, and how we can have tools to get us out of that space. Does that make sense?
That
Does
makes
definitely.
perfect sense. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I was listening to it today, like about, people that are stressed, like you say, that stress can have a detrimental effect on your health as well, your physical health as
Over
well. Like,
90% of physical illness
yeah,
is stress related. 90%. That's
yeah,
a lot of stress.
yeah,
And as I said, people hold stress in different parts of their body.
Mm.
Some people might hold anxiety in their tummy and anger in their shoulder,
Yeah.
but people don't notice where they hold the stress in their body. They might just have a headache and put it down to that, and they don't equate how they're feeling in that particular moment to how their body is responding to that feeling. And we all hold stress in different ways in our body.
That's
So
very true.
every single person is unique. There's nobody, like there's 8.2 billion people in the world, and nobody has our fingerprints, which makes us extremely unique. So it's not about being like anybody else. It's about stepping into our space of being ourselves and getting to know who I am and getting to know what works for me, knowing that what works for me is okay and what works for you is okay. So it doesn't have to be the same. It can't be the same, because none of us are the same.
Yeah, there's a couple of very interesting points you made there, Kathrina. The first is, and it's one that myself and Mark have discussed many times, is the notion of being a threshold, where someone comes through your door and they have to be able to answer three questions. And the first is, or to acknowledge three things. The first is, something has to change, and it has to be me, and it has to be now. And once they're in that position, then it's much easier to work with them. And the other thing you were mentioned reminded me of was watching a Richard Bandler DVD recorded in Dublin there during the week or over the last few days. And you mentioned about people holding stress in their bodies, right? And we, of course, the three of us had discussed the chakras there last week. And I thought it was interesting because he just reiterated the very same thing, right? And of course, is an NLP technique, which is spinning feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, for anybody out there who knows anything about chakras, the main chakras are the 7 chakras, which are the root chakra, which is just under the coccyx. You have the sacral chakra, which is a couple of inches below the belly button. Solar plexus, just there below the rib cage. The heart chakra, which is obvious enough. The throat chakra, also obvious. The third eye, which is in the forehead, just there. And the crown chakra, top of the head. So they're the 7 main chakras. And a lot of people, for example, will hold things like anxiety in their solar plexus, you know? And so the idea then is that if you can get them to acknowledge where it is that they're feeling, that feeling is, and what way is it spinning, you know? And then you can get them to either take it out, spin it around, put it back in, or wherever it is, various different techniques to get them to spin feelings. But if it's a bad feeling and it's spinning one way and spin it the other way, then lo and behold, it can reverse that and either neutralize it or maybe even just make it better again, you know? So
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah,
interest
but
there.
in relation to the energy work, the chakras actually spin in an anti-clockwise direction when they're in their full energy, and they can actually either get too much energy in them or too little energy in them. They can get blocked altogether depending on how repressed emotions are. So basically, we use different words for the same thing.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. That's true.
So most modalities are like that. And like when you talk about chakras as an energy healer, everyone has chakras in their hands. And the only difference to me and you or who isn't everyone has the ability to have the chakras activated. So mine are activated in my hands so I can channel the energy through me. But basically the NLP works with the subconscious. We're all doing the NLP to me is so powerful with the other work because NLP, if you give people the awareness, because as I said to you, and you've just reiterated that people don't have a lot of time the awareness of where they're at. So when you do that and show them that, then you can empower them.
Yeah, so you have to start at a baseline first to kind of get them ready for.
Yeah, and I suppose too also their perception coming in the door of what they're going to experience and what actually happens can be 2 different things. So you have to be aware as a therapist that necessarily what we feel they need and what they actually get out of a session could be 2 different things. So as therapists, we have to tune into their energy so that we can give them what they need so they can heal themselves.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? As opposed to,
yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
yeah.
Because
You know,
at the end of the day, that's where all healing happens in the
yeah.
self. Because no matter what doctor you go to, no matter what medication you take or whatever supplements you take or whatever it is, in the end of the day, it's your body, it's you that heals yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like even with like all these things make sense. It's the same with any kind of modality you're using, even like the likes of hypnosis. You know, you're not really doing the work to change work. They're actually doing it themselves because they're like, you may look like the miracle worker, but whereas they're the ones that are actually making all the change work themselves. You know, you're just facilitating them really.
Exactly. And when you mention hypnosis and stuff, like people have a perception that it's a control thing, and it's not at all. It's really just about getting them to relax so they can open up their subconscious to connect to what's going on for them that they're not aware of. And when you have that awareness, then it can be flipped, it can be changed. You can reprogram your perception. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day, because our perception creates our reality. And we live from that space. So it's I find the hypnosis side of the NLP very very powerful.
Yeah. Well, it is really, because it's kind of, it's adding a lot to it, like whatever you're doing, isn't it? Really, it's kind of like, it's really kind of, what am I trying to say? It's kind of, it's doubling everything you're doing.
It's intensifying everything, and
Intensifying.
it's quite a fast process.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, we can talk forever. We can go and, and I have done counseling in the past myself, and I found it very beneficial, and we can talk forever. But that's, I find that the NLP and the hypnosis side actually speeds things up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like, considering where the subconscious controls us, the 90% there, like the 80, it's what, 8% of the conscious mind that we're aware of, and the rest of it is 92%. So it's the 92% that's driving us, and we're not aware of the patterns and behavior that drive us. So it's about bringing awareness into that area, and
That's very
then
true,
you
yeah.
can change that.
Yeah, it's a bit like driving a car,
Exactly.
like most people have no clue what's going on in the car. They know they're in the car, they're just turning the wheel, they're doing the gears, they're doing the switching it on, accelerator, brake, whatever it might happen to be. Or if you have an automatic, put into drive, that's it, game over. You just drive it, that's all you're doing. But the car itself, there's all these pieces and all this stuff going on to actually physically move the car. You have no idea what's going on. And I suppose to a certain extent, it's a bit like that with hypnosis, because I remember myself years ago, I used to smoke. I started smoking when I was 12. And then after 17 years, I decided that I was going to give it up. So I went to a hypnotist. And one of the things he said to me was, just think back to the time when you started smoking, and what the reasons were for you starting to smoke. And I thought, well, why does any 12-year-old start smoking, And he says, and ask yourself if those reasons still exist. And I went, well, do I kind of, am I hanging around in school? Do I want to be hanging around with fellas who are smoking? But it was a whole like community within smoking. If you were a smoker, you were a member of a community, and you all had a mission every day, which was to get cigarettes, enough cigarettes to get you through the day. And it was a common purpose, you had all this stuff. And did I have that at age 29? Well, did I need smoking for that at age 29? And of course, the answer to that was no. So then it was as simple as that, And that was the power of it, the just pointing out that very, very simple thing, And then when I gave up smoking, previously, if I gave up smoking, say for Ash Wednesday, I'd be there, I'd be like the devil, till midnight, and oh, I can't wait for a smoke, But that time then, even though I had withdrawals, cravings, it was nothing like before, because I just thought, oh, well, look, I can't wait till these cravings go away. And that was it. I never considered that I was ever going to go back smoking.
You're at threshold, Fintan.
Yeah, well, it definitely was. Yeah, for sure. So there we're back to threshold again,
Yeah, absolutely.
I might just say for a second, guys, before we came on the podcast, because it's getting close to Christmas, we all picked out a word for today, and we're doing it because Oscuelga as well. And so Bruntiness is my word, which is obviously presence. Fintan, what was your one?
Mine was buíochas, which is grateful, or buich, grateful.
Yeah. And Kathrina?
And mine was abundance, which was nerd.
Nerd, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I actually genuinely didn't know what it was in Irish.
Yeah.
until earlier tonight. So yeah.
We're all learning tonight.
We're all learning. We're all still in the phase of learning, no matter what age we are.
So we say Bruntiness. What would that mean to you guys? Like, because presents can be two meanings. Like we're all gonna get presents hopefully this year, and then it's being present as well with your family and friends, and what's your what do you take out of it? Bruntiness.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean the word presence has two meanings, as you say. There's the presence that hopefully Santi will bring us, for not on the naughty list.
Being a good person, yeah.
Yeah, and the presence that you have, and like quite often your presence is as important to other people as your presence, as the presence. So you're being ilahar, you're being present with them and actually paying attention to what they're saying, and making them feel heard, making them feel that they can talk to you and that they have someone to talk to. It's just as important as maybe, a CD, DVD, something like that, or a voucher, it can be much more important, and it can make the person feel like they've really gained something.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Abundant. A present to me would be to be fully present for that person and hold space for them. And whatever about receiving a present, which is lovely because that meant somebody went to the effort of doing that for me. But it's also important for me to be present for them and hold space for them. And even on a friendship level, like to our family or whatever else, to be fully present, put the phone down and listen and spend time with that person. That's important. So yeah, that's what bluntness would mean to me now.
Right.
Very good. And
And
yeah, your words, Kathrina, was abundance.
Yeah, and abundance. I suppose abundance in all areas of my life. And at the end of the day, for me, abundance isn't necessarily about material things. It would be about being fully present and grateful for being in the present and being able to stay present to myself and also to what's happening around me, and being very grateful for having that, to have the peace of mind that the abundance, and that's what I class as my abundance, would be peace of mind, that I can be grateful and appreciative of all I have, regardless of what's going on outside of me. So that makes me feel very abundant, that I can stay present and calm while the chaos of the world is going on around me. So that's my perception of what I meant when I said abundance. And this time of year, I suppose, when it's very hard for people to sometimes, it can be a very lonely time and very depressing time for people, that the abundance of being able to be present for yours, to be fully present for yourself in the moment and for the people you're dealing with is, and having that peace of mind is something I'm very aware of at this
Very
time
good.
of year.
And
Yeah.
of course, the word nyart also means
Yeah.
strength. So when you
Strength.
say, I have a nyart, I have a strength of money I have. But of course, it just means strength as well. So I suppose you're looking for abundance, or by having abundance, you also have strength.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
a
And
lot
of
of people
course,
would need. Sorry.
sorry, Mark, one, yeah?
No, not like getting back to what Kathrina says. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that would need strength in these times as well. Strength in a lot of ways. That a lot of people could be dealing with loss. Loss of family members around this time of year kind of hits home with a lot of people.
Yeah.
So you need strength to be
To
present
get
with
through it.
be present with your family, not to bring them down if you're feeling. Sometimes you could be feeling the loss, but it's strength could be nerd, could be a big thing there as well.
Yeah.
And of course, the thing is that when people are present for those people and let them feel listened to and heard, that's a great present to give them,
It sure is. Yeah, absolutely. Because, we hide behind the material things so many times and put this facade up of being, happy and jolly and stuff like that. When inside we can be in a very different space. So to be able to be present within and hold space and just be in the moment without the judgment, without the need to be anything other than yourself in that moment, and allow somebody else to see you. That to me is abundance. To allow somebody else to see the real you, for you to be present for you, yourself, and then to allow that to be seen without fear of judgment or so that's a huge thing, abundance, to be the peace of mind that comes with being in that space. And it's such a sad time for lots of people, and yeah, to have that peace of mind in that space is takes a great deal of strength and character. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, there's something I was just thinking there as you were saying that, Kathrina, and that is that a lot of the time people feel this obligation to go to an event or to take part in some sort of a party, whether it's at home or someone's house or work party or whatever, right? And that they might feel, oh, sure, I might just bring everybody down, or wherever it might happen to be. And the thing about it is that, of course, you always have that option to sort of go, well, do you know what? I don't have to go. And I don't have to feel pressured into going somewhere. I don't have to feel pressured into doing things. And sometimes you just feel like, well, do you know what? Best thing for me right now is to take a bit of time and sit back myself, But the other thing as well is then for other people to recognize that sometimes somebody might be there and it might be a bit quiet, well, maybe because they're shy, to bring them in, and to like talk to them and that sort of thing. And or somebody might, and of course, some people are there, their life is all of the party, and that sort of thing. And now that might be a great thing, or it might just be that they're kind of putting it out there. Do you know, something that there's kind of
Hiding.
What sort?
They might be hiding behind the facade of
There you
being
go.
that, because they're not fully present for themselves. They're not fully present of being aware of, as I said, I think we put up barriers and we worry a lot of the time about pleasing other people and not offending people, and worrying about whether we've offended somebody or hurt somebody or blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, if we don't love ourselves enough to learn how to create boundaries that keep us safe while allowing us to connect energetically with people. And I think that's a skill, to learn how to create boundaries and be able to say no. And not because you're not saying, and I'd say to clients in the clinic, oh, I don't want to upset them. And they're used to me turning myself inside out and everything else. But at the end of the day, they would much prefer you to be happier in yourself than turning themselves inside out. And also, you're not saying no to the person as in, I don't like you. You're saying no to, a lot of the times you're saying no to an action that they might perceive you that you always do or you've always done, and the pressure is on you to do that. But saying no is not saying no to the person. It's not saying, no, I don't like you. It's saying, no, at this moment in time, my energy is very low and I need to mind my energy. And if that means me saying no to you, but I can come back. So, if someone asks me to do something and I really feel my energy is very low and I'm not able to do it and I'm putting myself under pressure, it's perfectly okay to say, well, I'd love to do that for you, but I'm not in a position to do it for you right this moment. I can do it for you tomorrow, or I can do it for the day after. Then you're allowing that person, the other person, they have a choice. They can now choose to say, okay, I'll wait for you, or okay, I'll do it myself, or okay, I'll get someone else to do it. But you're not being rude and you're not being dismissive to them and their needs. And I think as we do more self-awareness and so much more work on ourselves, that we learn that it's safe to create boundaries for ourselves, to protect ourselves, to allow ourselves to fill up our energy. Because especially when we're working with people, if we're running low, our energy is flat on the floor. So we don't have what we need to give to those to allow them to step into their power. So it's much more important to be able to create the boundary and hold on to our energy until we fill it up. And when you're a glass overflowing, we've so much more to give to everybody else, as opposed to a glass half empty and running on nothing.
Very true. Very
That's a
true.
great metaphor, yeah.
Yeah, it
Really
certainly is. Yeah,
good. Brilliant.
that's right.
That's right.
That's how we cut short
That's
now.
great,
you know.
Katrina. Yeah, thank you for that.
Excellent.
A brilliant new member to our group here. Thanks, Katrina.
You're welcome. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to the whole process. It's going to be exciting and fun and
Yeah,
hopefully
yeah.
informative, and we'll all grow from it.
Brilliant.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I have to say, I am fascinated. Like, we've been very lucky with a lot of people we've had on. Like, it's one of the things that we noticed early on in our NLP journey is the amount of people who use NLP and other skills, right? For example, we had Amanda on here, and she does, among other things, she does astrology, but she also does the sound healing. So, you know, the gongs and the sound.
Sound bath, yeah.
I'm sure that's all that sort of stuff, you
Yeah.
know. And then we also had Jenny, and she
Jennifer
does
Spain, who done the course with us.
EFT.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, you know Jenny from
I
Dundrum.
do, yeah.
And what sort of Be Well Fitness? I can't remember. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry. But yeah, and she does a lot of tapping and stuff like that. And you actually mentioned tapping as well.
Yeah.
Of course, myself and Mark are fans of tapping. And one of the first things I learned to help, I had awful trouble with my legs at one stage. I had awful pains and stiffness in my legs, and it was really, really bad. And and what got me through that was initially was tapping. I still tap, but now I tap when I'm stretching. I tap when I'm doing in the gym, when I'm lifting, whatever I'm doing, and because it makes things easier, because I'm basically tapping straight into my central nervous system, and it's great, and it makes me able to do things, you know, stretch that a little bit further, you know, be more flexible, takes away pain, takes away stiffness, that sort of thing, you know. So yeah, I just love the way all of the different things come together. And of course, I think one of the things that the three of us have in common is this insatiable curiosity and an insatiable love of learning and wanted to new. And we here go, oh, hang on a second. Yeah, that sounds good. Well, that sounds a bit like this, that, and the other. Yeah, let's talk about that, you know. So
Yeah. We've
I think that's what we
inquiring
do.
minds. Put it that way.
What's that, Katrina?
We've inquiring minds.
That's
Yes,
right, yeah.
that's a very good. That's a
Yeah.
really good.
Inquiring minds.
It's
So
funny,
I
I'm sorry, go
well,
on. No, it's funny, I was just thinking there that you know, a lot of us, even before we knew NLP, we're doing it in our lives anyway, like, you know, like for instance, when you're working, let's just say we've all done various jobs through our lives that you had to deal with people, and you're sorting out their problems, and you might be using aspects of NLP because it's all communication.
mhm.
So it's just basically when you learn this stuff, you're really learning what you've been doing for the vast majority of your life, you know.
Well, I suppose we have intuition, and
Mhm.
and we have intuition. So a lot of the time we're working from that space, and we're not aware of it. I suppose what the NLP does is give us the awareness
Yeah.
of, and we also know from NLP that we all take in information in different ways, as
Mhm.
opposed to being kinesthetic or auditory or you know, visual, and based on that we've absorbed information in different ways, the same information in different ways. And the NLP allows us to connect with how you take in information so we can allow you to absorb what you need to absorb because you've identified what type of person you are and how you communicate with people. And that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's a huge thing as a therapist, is that some people, you know, if you having an argument with somebody or you're trying to get your point across, and you know, I remember years ago when I had one of the kids living here, and in my wisdom, I had put the black bag with the bin stuff in it to go out the front door. As they were walking out the front door, thinking they'll see the bin man, they step, you know, they'll put the bag. To me, that was obvious. Pick up the bag; it's there for a reason. On your way out the door, and stick it in the bin for me, right? And I went on for weeks, and I just one day I lost the plot, and I said, Jesus Christ, have you not seen the bag there? And they looked at me totally like, why didn't you just ask me to put it in? So what I learned from that experience was part of me is visual and part of them was actually just auditory. I needed to ask them. They
Yeah.
didn't see, because their brain took in the information differently. They didn't see the bag there and enough to go, oh, that has to go out. They stepped over it. So when I learned how they communicated, which was more auditory, then I could change how I communicate with them when I need to express something that I would like them to hear. So the NLP has a great way of helping us communicate and be aware of our different types of communication.
It's like the embedded commands as well. I remember hearing
It's,
before that, like, I don't remember where I heard it, but basically they were saying that this fella, this son, he never cleaned his room. You know, he always had the room in an awful state. And the mother was always like, "Will you clean that room up? Clean the room up." I said, "Oh yeah, we'll do whatever." And then she says to him one day, "Clean that room up because we're going out tomorrow." And the way she said it, like, because, and then paused, "We're going out tomorrow." It was the embedded command. And
yeah,
right enough, they had about 6 bags of rubbish outside the door. Like, in about
yeah,
5 minutes. It wasn't a mother's clean, but it was clean, you know, she was saying, like,
yeah.
so
But isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing? Isn't the brain just an amazing? I mean, we're such an amazing organism, as in we've so many trillions of cells in us that replicate and communicate with each other, and all the systems that work in the body physically. And then you have the energetic body, and then you have the mental body, and like, we're just such an amazing creation,
definitely, yeah.
you know?
Yeah, very, very true. Very true.
Lots of and everything. To me, as a therapist, there's nothing stands alone. Emotional, so to me there's 4 bodies: there's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, and they all have to be in balance to create harmony within. So it's about getting all, and at different parts of our lives, going through your life, we focus on one part more than the other, you know, but it's about getting the balance right between the whole, because that's what we are. We're energy. We're all, and that's why all these sound bats and everything, as you said earlier, Fintan, are happening now, is because science and neuroscience has shown us that we are vibration. Basically, we're movement, we're energy, we're energy beings in a physical body.
Well, that's very true, because they know that even the most solid of objects is
It's
actually
vibration.
composed of atoms, and atoms are constantly moving. So even
Yeah.
though they look solid, they're actually, yeah.
They're just vibrating at a lower density, and that it makes it appear solid. But
That's
when you start looking at all of that, like, we're just, I just love this whole area, even now after 25 years, which is a good thing, I suppose.
Yeah, no, great.
that's
And
it.
it's
Yeah.
isn't it funny how we all kind of found NLP and all this, like, all the modalities, isn't it? Like, because me, for one, I stumbled across, and well, nothing's by accident, like we were saying before. Everything happens for a reason. But my experience was, I was driving home. I probably told a story before, but I was driving home from my mother's a couple of years back, and on the radio was a guy that does a podcast, Owen Fitzpatrick, and he was on the radio show explaining all about NLP and all that kind of stuff. And I listened. It's about a half an hour drive home from my mom's to where I live, and I was instantly hooked. The next day, I was checking out his podcast and listening and listening over and over again. Like, isn't it funny? Like, how it happens.
And isn't it funny too? You could have heard that same podcast 2 years previous and it would have gone over your head, because on an energetic level, you weren't ready to receive the information. So, we get what we need So we're always in the right time at the right space if we have an awareness of what's happening. And there's always either lessons or blessings. I don't actually believe in mistakes. To me, they're lessons. And they're usually the painful things that happen in our lives. But if you look on it that there's a lesson in it, then it's not a waste. So there's lessons and blessings. The blessings are the things that flow to us easily and, you know, that we're grateful for. And it takes the pressure off us as well when we, you know, because human nature and the mind is to judge it. It's judgment that we have on ourselves all the time of comparing ourselves to other people and not measuring up to other people's standards, as opposed to getting to know ourselves and what works for us. Because the judgment is from outside of ourselves. It's another human being setting a barrier or a standard or something for us to measure ourselves against.
Yeah.
So
very
even
true.
by changing like one word from using should to could, when we say should, it's a judgment. I should have gone for the walk last night. I said I was not going on a diet. What am I like? Why did I? Here I go again, the usual. And if you just change that, that's constant criticism of ourselves.
Yeah.
So if you
What is it
change
Mike
that word,
Mandel says about should? He says, don't
exactly,
go shoulding on me, you know?
yeah. And if you change that to could, you're owning your feelings and you're owning your behavior without the judgment. So I could have gone for the walk last night, but you know what? The television was much more interesting. So I can go tomorrow. But I'm owning it without criticizing myself and beating myself up for putting pressure on myself. It's a whole different feeling. So, you know, words are so important. And how we speak them, as we know with NLP, and how we pace them and our tone, because communication is all about that. It's not just the words we say, it's how we say them.
Very true.
And the tone and the delivery and everything else.
Physiology, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They reckon the words are something like 7% or something like that of our
That's right, yeah. And that body language is 55% and 37 is the tone and how you deliver the words. So like when you know that, like, I mean, that's crazy. When we're communicating with people and we're not aware of that, we think the words are the most powerful thing that we're doing, and it's not.
No.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Yeah.
And you do have some people who say, oh, well, look, I'm telling you the words and how you take them. If you don't understand what I'm saying, well, that's your problem. You go, well, no. Communication is about getting a message across. If you're not getting the message across, then you're not communicating properly.
Yeah. But if you don't know how you're feeling yourself, it's very hard to communicate that to somebody else.
Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah.
You know,
and it is great. You mentioned earlier, Kathrina, how NLP allows us, it's one of the many tools that we have, but it allows us to understand where we are and to just realize that we are in a place that maybe we don't want to be, or we're in a place that, and it also gives us the tools to get out of it. And that's a very important thing as well, you know. Whereas most people, they don't even realize that they're feeling down, they're feeling stressed, they're feeling whatever. And other people are looking at them going, yeah, there's definitely something going on here, you know. They don't even realize that they're in that place. And maybe that's their normality. So they don't even realize, well, what is that about, you know?
Well, when you're in the fight or flight mode, you could be in that for 20 years. Something could have happened to you 20 years ago, and you could have been living your life from that space since then and not consciously aware of what you're doing. So I suppose, as I said, to me, NLP is very empowering. It's given the person the power back, a power of awareness of knowing where they're at and knowing how to move from that space to a better space.
Very good. Very good. I think we have a lot to look forward to now in 2024, don't we?
Definitely.
Honest to God. And God knows where we'll end up. But it's exciting.
It is, yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
if you look back
understanding
3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and the other way people often say, oh, where will you be in 5 years' time? Well, guess what? Anyone had said to me 5 years ago, where will you be in 5 years' time? I would not have said, I'll be here, you know, doing this.
I
So,
hear you. Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. So much has happened in the last 5 years. It's been unbelievable.
And it'd be exciting now to do the online course as well.
Definitely.
Absolutely, yeah,
With
yeah.
the skill sets that we have, you know, and be able to hopefully guide people in a way that will benefit them, you know. with the skill sets that we have.
Definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then a big thing as well I found from the NLP as well is understanding people's maps of the world as well. You know, because everybody has a different map of reality.
That's very true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Based on their perception and what they learned by the age of 7, because the brain doesn't put a barrier up totally until the age of 7. So we're just sponges. So we absorb stuff without even knowing it. And then we act out a lot of the time. We're programmed basically by the time we're 7, and we act out on belief systems that we have created from that space until something comes into our life as we get older that stops us in our tracks. And then it may trigger us to look at what we're doing, because what we're doing isn't working for us anymore, knowing that our pattern of behavior, like ultimately the subconscious is all about keeping us safe. So when we start looking at that and going, well, actually that belief system or that behavior doesn't actually serve me in the space I'm in now, and know that it's okay to go, okay, well, that doesn't fit right anymore. So what's the alternative? And where do I go with it? And what feels better? So there's where the NLP comes in.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you open yourself up to abundance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you feel grateful.
Abundance. Absolutely. Abundance and grateful. Yeah.
And presence.
And present. Fully present. Yeah. And presence. It's a great present to yourself to be fully present with
Definitely.
yourself.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Really
That's
is.
right.
That's right.
Isn't it?
That's it indeed.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Thanks very much, Kathrina.
Yeah.
You're
Very
welcome.
informative, and can't wait to learn so much more from you. And I'm sure all our viewers and listeners will be delighted to learn more as well.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you for asking me on board, and I'm looking forward to to how it evolves. I'm sure we'll have great fun along the way. And thanks so much, lads.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We always do a scale and lay, and so who with the scale and lay and story of the day and
the cash and lay.
Cash and lay.
Question of the day. So are you going to do the scale and lay? Are you, Mark? Whose turn is it?
Okay, sure. I'll tell you about. I've got a metaphor, and I'll tell you some metaphor. Okay. So once upon a time there was a bee. There was a lot of bees in a nest. Okay, and there was a bee called B152. Let's say, okay, and every day this bee would go looking for honey and red clover, you know. So one day he went off searching and did a beeline down and across and across, and eventually found red clover. And he was like buzzing away, bzz, 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 happy in a happy dance, you know. He's after finding this red clover, you know. So he did a beeline straight back to the hive to tell the rest of the bees in the hive, you know, a bee dance to let them know, look at it, where the red clover is, you know. And you probably see this on Discovery Channel, like you can see this stuff happen, you know. They're fascinating thing, bees, you know. So next thing was all the bees did a beeline straight to back where the red clover was, okay. But B152 went down his original route and got there much later than the rest of the bees. That's right.
Thanks very much, Mark.
Thanks very much, Mark.
And my question today, or I suppose the question for Christmas, if you like, is what is it that you can do this Christmas to be more present with people, to feel more grateful for what you have and what you have to give, what you already have received, and how you can use that to feel much more abundant and increase your abundance in the world.
Well done, Fintan. Great stuff.
That's a good one, Fintan. Yeah, that's lovely.
Not to put you on the spot, do you have anything for us, Kathrina?
Don't totally put me on the spot. Well, if I had
No, you can do it.
I would have said what Fintan was saying. So I'll reiterate what Fintan said. That
Right.
would be what would have been my question around Christmas and abundance and everything. Yeah,
Brilliant.
I'll be more prepared the next time.
Yeah.
I
Yes,
know
I
you're
do.
grand, sure. This is your
You
first
have
time
to go
playing
soft
this.
on me. You have to go
Yeah.
easy on me and breaking me in gently here. You know.
Sorry.
Don't worry, next month. That's it. It's your turn.
Next month, I'm on the hot seat next month. Am I?
Or we'll be all
Yeah.
sacked.
Yeah, honest to God. I'll be a one-hit wonder.
That's tough. That's tough. Lots to learn, lots to do.
Lots to
And,
learn, lots to learn, lots of fun.
I suppose just wish everyone a very happy Christmas and prosperous, abundant New Year. And
Yeah.
we'll see you in the New Year.
Yeah,
I'd like to
definitely.
add and just say, I wish everyone a peace-filled Christmas. Calm, happy, and fully present.
Thanks, Kathrina. Brilliant. So thanks a million, Deb, for tuning in to NLP Upscale Live today. Myself, Mark, Fintan, and Kathrina. New addition. Thanks a lot, Kathrina. So like the guy said, all the best for this Christmas to you and your family, and all the best for 24. And we'll talk to you in 24. Thanks very much for tuning in.
All right. Take care. Happy
Bye,
Christmas.
everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.